Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's just a couple minutes after 2 and people are still getting on, so I'll just talk slowly for the next couple of minutes here and give people a chance to get on. I want to thank everyone for being on today. We had a great webinar this morning at 10 o'clock. This is obviously a topic that people are talking about, which is buying Freddie Mac Properties. That's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. For those of you that are curious, I will be taping today's webinar. It'll be recorded. It'll be on YouTube in a couple of hours after the conclusion of the webinar, so you want to get a copy of it, we will send it to you. And we will take questions at the end of the webinar. So if you look to the right of your screen, you've got a dashboard there. If you look to the right there, you just click on that. There'll be a little window that'll pop up. It'll say questions. You just click on that, and you'll be able to type in your questions, and we'll answer all of your questions at the conclusion of today's webinar. For those that don't know me, and I saw a lot of familiar faces that registered for today, so to all those folks, welcome back. Thanks for being here again this afternoon. I've been doing these webinars for about 7 years now almost. I started doing these back in 2009 for Entrust and AccuPlan and UDirect IRA and a bunch of third-party administrators with the purpose of being, an educational webinar with the intent to educate people on the values of investing in income real estate. We sort of grew from there. We started doing webinars to lots of other financial groups. We then got a radio show called Real Estate Radio Live that's carried on the Wall Street Radio Network. We have been on sabbatical for the last couple of months. If you've noticed where our podcasts have gone, we've been on sabbatical. We're moving to the internet. We're going to go to Blog Talk Radio starting in September, so be on the lookout for that. It'll be a one-week show just for an hour like we did before. We're having topical guests in to talk about real estate and what's going on in the real estate world. So to all those that are new, just welcome in today. Glad to have you here with us. We're going to be talking about something that's a little bit different. For those of you that have been on my webinars for the last several years, you know that our main area of focus, our bread and butter, was stabilized turnkey cash flowing real estate. We had a number of hedge funds that were clients of ours. We also work with the smaller investors looking to expand their real estate portfolio. And working with the hedge funds was a great experience because it gives you some insight into what's going on in the market. I would tell people all the time, if you want to know a good market to buy in, just look where the hedge funds go, because the hedge funds would go into a market and they'd find where the best places to buy would be. And that's where they would focus their attention. And it would slide around a little bit, but for the most part, they were pretty consistent. They had certain markets that they liked, and we had great success with them. Earlier this year, the hedge fund buying protocol changed. Actually, it changed quite a bit, and many of you know this. We've talked about this. But they started buying more notes from banks, REO products, where they were buying less and less stabilized cash flowing assets, which was my sort of my area of expertise. And so a number of months back, a number of people came to us and said, hey, have you considered selling these bank tapes, these Freddie Mac tapes? And I said, well, I considered it. Let's look at it. I've never attempted to market one of these tapes before. And so we did. And in that process, many of you have heard these stories. During that process, we learned a lot about not just the process, but the perception of buying off these tapes. And it wasn't always good. We've all heard the stories. You get these tapes. They're not deliverable. You make offers on them. You never get responses back from the banks, or you make an offer on 5 properties and the bank comes back and says, we sold the whole tape to a hedge fund. So you hear all these stories, and the general belief that we encountered in our buying community was that there wasn't a high level of confidence that these tapes were deliverable. And so understanding that the market was changing and that REOs and these types of properties were becoming more in demand, the challenge became, well, then how do we go to our buying community with a program that would allow them to get access to these properties and successfully close on some? And so that's what we began to do. We started looking into the different people out there, the different master distributors out there. We did settle on one. It's called H. Albert Corp. I believe H. Albert may be on this call today, and if he is, H, hello and welcome, and nice of you to be here. If you've got questions for H. Albert, it's very rare that you'll get a chance to talk directly to a master agent for Freddie Mac. So if you have questions for H, if he is there, or Lori's there, you can ask those questions at the end of today's webinar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through sort of the protocol, just from the very beginning of when the list comes out, how you have to react to that list, how you follow the proper protocol to obtain that property. The one thing that we've learned is that following the protocol and understanding what you're buying and how you can buy it is critically important to your success. If you don't understand those things, you're just not going to have as high a level of success as we think you could. And when I say we, by the way, I want to point something out. When I say we, it's because I want to define we. We as a team of people. Myself, Lori Wheeler, who's on today's webinar with us as well, is a representative with Freddie Mac. Matt Castro, my son, who works with our company, is going to be an integral part in this. This is going to be a team effort, and we believe that it's going to require a team to be able to acquire this information, help you through the bid process, and ultimately close on some discounted property. So I'm going to go through the process from sort of beginning to end. And again, I already see a couple questions pop up. So if you've got your questions, hold them. I'll answer all of them at the end of the webinar. Okay, let's start right at the beginning. Every Thursday morning, the new Freddie Mac list comes out. Yes, I did get one this morning. If you'd like to get it, we'll tell you in a bit here how you can get it. The couple things you need to know about that list, we get these directly from the master dealer, which is H. Albert Corp. We do not mark these tapes up. We've been asked a couple times, well, do you guys we're going to talk about fees in a minute, but do you guys add fees? Do you mark up the properties? The answer is no, we don't do that. They're just exactly as they come off the list that comes out of H. Albert's office directly to us. We do not mark those up. It comes directly from the master dealer. Now, how do you get the list? The list will be made available every Thursday morning on our website. So it's going to be posted on our website every Thursday morning. That address is www.buyrightproperties.net. To receive that list in your inbox immediately, become part of our VIP list, and we'll talk more about that later. We're going to both email it out. We're going to have a database of VIP customers that we know want to buy these types of properties, including their proof of funds with the buying areas that they're looking in. We're going to develop a database, and every Thursday morning, the minute we get that tape, it's going to go right to you in your inbox. We'll talk more about that as we go through the slideshow. Okay, fees. Let's talk about fees and just sort of get that out of the way. There are fees, obviously, to be paid to both H. Albert Corp. And to myself, Lori, and to the team of people that are putting this together. So I'm going to go over the fees real quickly. Any property below $50,000 is one flat fee of $3,000. Now, there will be properties that you will offer on that will be below even $10,000. That does happen. And so we don't. The paperwork process is every bit as cumbersome on one property that you're buying at $10,000 is on one property that you're buying at $1 million. So we have to charge a fee on that, obviously. So it's a $3,000 fee below $50,000. Anything over $50,000 is real simple. It's a 6% fee. Now, one thing that's very important to point out is that fee, that 6%, is calculated off of the asking price, not your buy price. So, for example, if you offer on, let's say a property is on the tape for $100,000 and you offer on it at $70,000 and you win that bid, you're going to pay fees on the $100,000. That's a very important point. Now, I don't want fees to become a major issue. You're buying these properties below market value, and we're doing a lot of work to help push this process along. That was the whole idea of the structure of putting this team together, was to have an infrastructure in place that can aid you in getting these properties approved and through and ultimately closed. So we don't want to get bogged down in that, but those are the fees. There'll be fees calculated on each transaction. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Now, what to offer? This is a really very important piece. You know, one of the things that I experienced really early on when we were first doing these tapes, which was several months ago, and I should point out something too. There are a number of master distributors of these tapes. We settled on H. Albert Corp. For a number of reasons that we can all talk about privately, but we clearly believe that they were the best source to work from with regards to acquiring these tapes. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just the fees are more reasonable than some other folks. We also believe the deliverability is stronger. We also believe that we're going to get much more cooperation from their office and us all being successful with this venture. So there's a lot of reasons we did that. But one of the main things we get asked is, what do you offer? Now, one of the first things that we realized was, and Lori remembers this, several months ago, we said, okay, let's market these tapes. And we have a fairly large buying community, and we'd send the tapes out. And we actually got offers. But what I didn't know at the time, at least, was that you just can't offer on, I'm just going to use a hypothetical, you can't offer on a property in Atlanta. Let's say that's being asked at $100,000. You can't offer on that $40,000. You've got to be realistic in your offers. And we're going to talk about what reasonable and realistic is. We're going to try to give you a framework to work within. But when you're making your offer, you want to keep in mind that Freddie Mac isn't giving these properties away. Can you get them at discounted prices? Absolutely you can. You should be expecting that. That's why you're doing this. But we don't want to be unreasonable. This is not like distressed tapes where you can offer 30, 40 cents in the dollar for properties that have been gutted. There's no internals in the properties. All the copper's been taken out. The cabinets have all been taken. That's a different animal. We can talk about that another time. But we're not dealing with that here. So you want to be reasonable. Now, one of the things you should know is, and most of you, or not most of you, but some of you may know this, If you're buying it from a Freddie Mac, a master dealer, you know that you've got to offer on at least 6. One of the things I want to point out right off the top is with the structure that we've been able to put together, you don't need to do that. Why? Simply there's power in numbers. If you offer on 2 properties tomorrow and we got 10 other people offering on 1 properties tomorrow, Lori's going to process that. We're going to push that through the system. So there's power in numbers. You don't have to offer on 6. We'd like you to. We'd like you to offer on 60 every week. But if you only offer on 4 or 5 or 6 or 3 or whatever that number is, we're still going to process those because we believe we'll have enough business week in, week out to be able to take those into H. Albert Corp and make those bids on your behalf. So there is no 6 property minimum order working through our group. Now, due diligence. This is important stuff here. When you're doing your due diligence and evaluating the property, these are some of the things you got to take into consideration when you're making your offer. And again, remember, these are not distressed properties that have been vacant and vandalized and sitting, deserted for 2 years. This is not that. Consider the location of the property. Consider the city. I live in California. I used this analogy a couple times this morning. I'm in California. If somebody sends me an offer for a property in California at 70%, we know it's not going to fly. I know we've got one gal on today that's made a lot of offers on REO type properties in California. We've had very little success, although we're learning how we can get there. But we also have learned one thing, and that is the fact that you just can't go in and offer in a place like Southern California at 50, 60, 70%. It just doesn't work. So consider the location of the property, and not just the city that it's in, but maybe even the grid that it's in. If it's in an area that's highly concentrated with investors, that's creating competition. That's going to affect the price a little bit. So consider the location of the property. Yeah, even if it's in a war zone, consider that. If investors are buying there, that is going to have some sort of effect on the price. Competition will create effect to the price. So take that into consideration when you're offering. Determine how long the property's been on the market or how long it's been in Freddie Mac's possession. You can see all that. You want to look for that. If something's been on the market for 8 months and it's again on the market for $100,000, and let's just say it's in a C-class neighborhood of Georgia, you can probably go in at 70, 75%, maybe even a little bit lower than that. But you want to consider all that. See how long the property's been on the market. When you're doing your desktop research, include home steps. I want to really draw your attention to that homesteps.com website. That is a great source of information. Homestep.com is Freddie Mac's website, and it does contain pictures and information about the house. So that is a resource you absolutely want to use. So you want to write that down. That's an important tool to have. Homesteps.com is Freddie Mac's website. It's going to give you a lot of information about the property. And I'm going to tell you in a few minutes why all this is really important, because you're not going to have a lot of time to make your offers on these properties. We'll explain how the process works in a minute, but you want to be able to do as much due diligence from your desktop as you can, and that site there is an excellent place to go to get information. If the property is local to you, take a drive and look at it. If you're in the market, and a lot of you do, I know a lot of the faces on today's webinar. I know a lot of you folks are working in a specific market, and you know your market. You know the streets, the schools, the crime areas. You know where you can buy good property at. You know where you can get the best rents at. You know that stuff. But if you're in the neighborhood, you should take a drive by and take a look at it. Do your best to determine the amount the rehab is going to cost. Now remember, in the vast majority of these properties, you're not looking at full rehabs. You're looking at more minor type of repair, but you want to get some sort of an idea, obviously, what your rehab costs are going to be. And then determine a reasonable offer based on that due diligence. Now, obviously, the operative word there is what's reasonable. You know, what's a reasonable offer? And I don't want to lead you to believe that there is some sort of magic formula. If you offer in Atlanta, you must be at 75%. If you offer in California, you must be at 85%. There's no magic formula like that. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and we know that you know your market. If you know your market, you know what the value of that property is going to be. Can you offer a percentage of that? Of course you can. But you want to be reasonable in your offers. Again, you don't want to spend a lot of your time doing due diligence and doing all that stuff and then thinking you're going to sneak in there and buy that property at 50% of value, because in most cases that's not going to happen. That's not to say that hasn't happened in other markets and other pockets and other places where the values aren't as high, the investment community is not as prevalent. There are areas where you can do that, but you want to be reasonable knowing your market. So you don't think that Freddie Mac is desperate to sell these properties. They're not desperate. They put these on the MLS, as you probably know. So if they sit there for a little while, they're more likely to sit there for a little while than they're going to sell them at some extremely low number. So again, that's part of defining reasonable. Know that large institutional buyers do buy off these tapes, but many people think that means that these assets just aren't available because those larger buyers are sucking everything up. That is not true. That's myth. there's a couple of reasons why people like all of us that have had these experiences, these tapes, have not been successful. We're trying to address those in today's webinar by saying, if you follow the proper protocol, if you understand what a reasonable offer is, you're going to be successful, and we as a team are going to help you acquire these properties. We believe those things to be true. We don't believe that these tapes have just been splattered out there all over the internet for people to waste their time on. They are deliverable if you know how to approach it. Again, that's what we're trying to describe to you today. You can't offer below list price. The percentage, again, depends upon a variety of factors that I've mentioned. The area that the property is in, the sub-area or the grid that the property is in. Is there a lot of investment activity in that part of the country? Again, knowing your market's the key. If you know your market, you know what you can offer that's going to be reasonable, what the bank is going to be willing to accept. Now, if you're looking to buy off-market distressed properties like I just described, I had offers between the first and second webinar today on a few properties that were in distress, and they did offer at about 35% of the asking price. But these are properties that have been purchased by a fund that have been sitting foreclosed on for a number of years. We can only guess what the inside is going to look like if there even is an inside. Those are distressed assets. This is not that. I don't want anybody to think that you can come in and offer on 30, 40% of these. If you want to look at distressed lists, we have those. Just get a hold of us, give us your criteria, call me. I've got my number up here a couple times, and we can help you get access to those types of tapes. Okay, now we're going to go through the steps to buy. Okay, the first step is you complete the offer spreadsheet that'll be provided to you. Now, I'm going to show you a copy of the spreadsheet here in a second. It's got some columns you got to fill in. But we put this up here today because it is important. There's cells on the spreadsheet that you have to fill in. We don't want to submit to Lori, and Lori will be the one that will be processing this paperwork. She'll be the one that will be charged with gathering the offers, making sure everything's filled out properly, and then taking it to H. Albert Corp and pushing them through the system. But you want to make sure that you put everything in there that's required in each field. You must provide verifiable proof of funds. What's verifiable? If you send me a letter from a lending institution that no one's ever heard of without a phone number and an address, that's probably not going to fly. And most of you are, no, I'm not going to say that. All of you are intelligent to know the difference between a verifiable proof of funds and one that isn't verifiable. You've got to give us verifiable proof of funds, and we're probably going to ask for that and collect that up front. We are more than happy to sign NDAs, whatever you guys want. This is not for us. This will never be shared with anybody. It goes directly to H. Albert Corp. But it's helpful to have your proof of funds on file. So make sure you've got that proof of funds in there. Once your offers are made, you will be able to gain access to the property. So understand that if you get a tape today and you make an offer by tomorrow morning, we're going to talk about how we'd like to see the protocol flow. If you make your offer by tomorrow morning, you're going to then get access to the property. So you're going to have plenty of time to do due diligence. I have lots of people who have said to me in the last couple months, and this is probably the most common question, how can I make an offer if I haven't seen the house yet? I can only see what I see on the internet. And the answer is simple. I said, if you don't make your offer, you're not in the game. You have to get in the game. If you make your offer and you go out there and you discover there's a hole in the roof and there's a crack in the foundation and there's mold, well, then you're going to alter your offer price because you're going to go back to Freddie and you're going to say, this house has a hole in the roof, a crack in the foundation, it's got mold in the ceiling, it's not worth $100,000, and here's why. That's a different scenario. But if you don't offer on it, you're not even in the game. So you have to make your offer. Once you make and I'm going to describe to you how you're going to have time for due diligence. I don't want you to think that you're going to make your offer and you're going to be married to that offer when you have to buy the house, whether it's in the condition you thought it is or not. That's not the case. I'll go through that. But you want to get your offers in quickly. I'll walk through that in a minute. But once your offer is made, you then have right to get access to the property. Okay, this is just what the offer spreadsheet looks like. I'll just do this real quickly. There's just basic information here that needs to be filled out. Property ID number, the offer amount, the address, city, state, zip, fees, which will be left blank. We'll talk about that. The fee column will be left blank. We'll assign that with you. So you will know what the fees are, but we'll fill that in before it gets sent in, but leave that column blank. Do not alter the spreadsheet in any way. It must be submitted to Freddie Mac as is, so we can't make additions or subtractions from it. All you have to do is fill it out and send it back to us with your proof of funds. We'll do the rest. That's part of what we believe will shortcut the process and make it easier for you, the buyer, to be able to obtain these properties, is by allowing people on our team to help walk this through for you. Lori's going to be there to make sure that it's filled in correctly, that it's submitted in a timely manner, and that it's walked through the system. It's going to shortcut a lot of challenge that we've had up to this point with regards to the deliverability of properties once the offers are made. Okay, After your offers are submitted, and usually within a 72-hour period, so 3 days except for weekends and holidays, Freddie Mac will email you its response. They'll either accept it, reject it, or they'll counter your offer. So you'll have 48 hours in which time to agree to take the property if your offer was accepted, or respond back with a counter offer. So they counter, they give you an offer, they give you a counter offer back. You've got 48 hours to reply to it. If your offer is flat out rejected, you can submit a new offer. There's a misnomer out there that a number of people have said this to me, that once you offer, you're done. That's not the case. If you offer, it can be countered. If your offer is just flat out rejected and there's no counter, and that would only be in cases where you just sort of weren't following our guidance and counsel, and you're just submitting offers that are just at such low ball numbers, yeah, those are going to get rejected. But then you can resubmit your offer. Once there's an agreement between Freddie Mac and you, an award letter will be issued. So once we agree, we're going to buy this house at $100,000 and everyone agrees, you're then going to get an award letter. That's not a contract. The property will then be removed from the internal list. Okay, so the internal list that has that property listed on there will be removed. And there's been some controversy about that as well, and I'm not going to spend any time on it, but that's what happens. Once that letter is sent out, the award letter is sent out, that's now taken from their internal list, taken off of there. It's at that point Freddie Mac will draft the contracts. Now, you've got about 5 to 7 days, business days, for the contracts to be prepared, and you've been given access to the property. So I think you're seeing here the picture now that whereby, yes, we may be asking you to make those offers rapidly, and I haven't gotten into that yet, but I will. But you submit your offers in. You now can get access to the property, right? You've got 5 to 7 days before a contract's going to be generated, so it's giving you plenty of time. And then in addition to that, when you get the contract, it's going to give you another 10 days due diligence period. So it's really important that everybody grasp this concept. Yes, we're going to ask you to look at a tape on Thursday and get us your offers in by early the next morning, Friday. But we want to make clear here, because a lot of people have said this to me, well, I can't do my due diligence in one day. We're not asking you to. You do your desktop due diligence in that period of time. Then you get access to the property. You submit your offer. You get your offer accepted. Now you've got access to it. Then you have time to do your due diligence. If at some point in time you've decided if this property has, again, the hole in the roof and the crack in the foundation, then you can get out of the contract. Okay. When the contracts are ready, you'll be contacted and provided with the contact and wire instructions for the earnest money. Now, you're going to have 48 hours to sign the contract and send in your earnest money deposit. Your earnest money, very important, your earnest money goes hard immediately. There's no delay from that point on. Once you sign the contract, the earnest money goes in, and we're working towards a close. And closings are usually scheduled for about 14 days from the date of the contract was prepared. So from the day the contract is prepared, there's then 48 hours that you have to sign it, put your earnest money in, but about 10, 12 more days after that to closing. That's a typical closing time frame for any transaction, right? This is not shorter or longer than anything else that you're going to go to title or go to escrow and you're going to close on the property. That's a standard, pretty much a standard time frame to close. Okay, now here's the one that we changed from this morning. The list comes out Thursday morning. If you're on our VIP list, you will get that list the minute we do. We're going to ask that your offers be submitted by 10 a.m. Pacific time Friday morning. Now, 10 a.m. Pacific Friday morning is 7 a.m. Eastern. There's not a lot of time there to make your offers. Now, why are we doing this? Expedience is key. If some people wonder why you got a tape on Thursday and you made offers the next Friday and you didn't get the well, it's because you got the tape on Thursday and you waited till the following Thursday to make your offers, because, again, I kept getting, and it wasn't just me, by the way. I've heard these stories from dozens of people. They'd get the list, it'd sit on their desk for 2 or 3 days, they'd get in there, they'd make their offer, and a week and a half has gone by, and they didn't get the property. If it's a property that fits your criteria in your portfolio, chances are pretty good it fits into somebody else's portfolio, whether it be another H. Albert client, whether it be another one of our clients, whether it be a hedge fund, whether it be any one of the hundreds of people or probably thousands of people that are buying off these Freddie Mac tapes. You put yourself at risk when you take that tape and say, I'll get to that next week, or I'll get to that over the weekend. You don't want to do that. You want to get your offers in one day. And again, I think I laid out pretty effectively there. You've got plenty of time to do your full due diligence. You're not married to that offer if you get out there and you find out there's the hole in the roof and the crack in the foundation. So, but you want to get your offers in. So we're asking that you'll get the tape on Thursday mornings every week, and that you get your offers into us by Friday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I'm being corrected here. It is 7 a.m. Pacific time. We have a typo here on the screen. That should say Eastern time. So 10 a.m. Eastern time, which would be 7 a.m. Pacific time. So for those of you on the East Coast, you just got 3 more hours. Yes, that was a lot of information. I said I would do that in less than 30 minutes. We did that in less than 30 minutes. This webinar has been recorded, so we're going to be sending that out later today along with the Freddie Mac tape. The recordings, the instructions, the blank submission forms, and the newest tape can be found at buyrightproperties.net. It's under a Freddie Mac tab. You can go to that website right now, I believe, and draw that tape off. Is it on there now? It's not on there yet. So if you want to get today's tape, if you want to get the newest tape, just contact me or Lori Wheeler after the webinar. And I mentioned already, if you want to be on our VIP list, we are going to create a list of people that will be in one database that want to see the tape the second it comes out. So if you get on that list, the minute that tape comes out on Thursday mornings, it'll be in your inbox. So you can be expecting that every Thursday morning. And Matt Castro will be the one that will be creating that list. So if you want to email Matt at matt.castro91@gmail.com. You can call or email me as well. We were just trying to funnel everything to Matt, so we didn't have a bottleneck of people trying to get information to us. So matt.castro91@gmail.com. So that is our webinar. I'm now going to open up my window pane here and look for questions. Now we're going to leave our information up here for the duration of the time we answer questions. So if you want to contact us, if you want to get more information, I always leave my phones open the days we have webinars. So I will be available the rest of the day. If you get my voicemail, that just means I'm talking to somebody else. I see hands going up, so just type your questions into the queue. We'll answer those. If you got a question you want to talk to myself or Lori, I'm going to leave Lori's information up there. Write Lori's information down, folks, because she's an important cog in this wheel, because our role out front is to do the marketing, bring the buyers, the investors to the table. We'll be doing a number of different email blasts. If you're not on our email list now, you should get on our email list, because we'll be pulling out what I consider to be gems, properties that are on these lists that are serious steals. I'll be advertising those probably 3 or 4 days a week. So we'll be going through the tape, finding out where the best buys are. If I know where your buying criteria is, if you say to me, hey, Charlie, I want to buy in Boise, Idaho, and we know that, I don't have to go, if I get something that I think is a great buy in Boise, Idaho, you don't have to even sift through that tape. We'll do that for you. So you just let us know where you buy at, and we'll be happy to dig through the tape for you. Yeah, the Buy Right Agenda. Hey, Chuck Diaz, how you doing, brother? Good to talk to you. I haven't talked to you for a while. Hope you're doing well. The Buy Right Property website, again, is buyrightproperties.net. It's just like it sounds, B-U-Y-R-I-G-H-T, properties, T-I-E-S, plural, .net, www.buyrightproperties.net. And we'll start that next week. For the moment, we'll just email, whoever wants the list, we'll just email the list out to you. Okay, what is acceptable for proof of funds? That's a really good question. Obviously, the best thing is a bank statement, and it doesn't mean you got to leave your account number on there. Just leave your name on there, and just you can black out the account number and send us your bank statement. That's the easiest one. If you're using a lender and you have some sort of a lending arm, we want a letter from your lender or a letter from your bank. Lots of the letters of intent, or proof of funds rather, that we've gotten have been exactly that. Somebody walks into their bank and they sit down with their bank manager and say, I'd like you to write a letter to whom it may concern, or to H. Albert Corp, if you will. My client, Joe Smith, has available funds in his account of $1 million. Please contact me to confirm it, and just have your bank manager just sign that and just send that in to us. Either one of those two, bank statements or a letter from your bank, are always the best two. If you're using a lender of some sort, then you want to be a little more aggressive. You want to go to your lender and say, what can you give them to effectively articulate that I have the money and the financial ability to buy these 10 properties. Remember, you're dealing with Freddie Mac here. I understand you're not dealing, this isn't a document that we want to see. It's not even really a document that H. Albert Corp wants to see. It's a document that Freddie Mac has to see, otherwise they're not going to fill the order. At closing, will you have to do a double close? The answer is no to that, Lori. I believe the answer is no to that. If I got that wrong, then you can, Matt's going to unmute you. So just know, Lori, I'm about to unmute your phone, so don't be saying anything nasty about me in the background there, because you're going to be unmuted here in about 10 seconds. If I did not answer that question correctly, I believe the answer to that, Sam, is no. We're not buying these properties first. Lori, did I get that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that H. Albert?
No, this is Lori.
This is Lori. Okay. Yeah, this is not a double close, Sam. We're not buying these and then flipping them. We get paid our fee. I know some people are out there going to say that's a big fee, 6%. It's really not. It's a realtor fee, and there's a lot of people in this group that's going to make this happen. So, like anything else, people have to get paid, and of course, part of that fee is H. Albert's fee for having a master agreement with Freddie Mac, which not everybody's able to acquire. Okay, a couple more questions here. What other types of distressed properties do you have? You know, it's really interesting. When a year ago, for those that know me, and I just looked at the list of who's on here, many of you do know me, you know that we never did distressed properties. Matter of fact, I told people, you know what, the best way for you to invest is by turnkey cash flowing, stabilized assets. And I frankly still believe that. But I also believe that in today's market, there's a lot of buyers out there that also believe that the best deals that they're going to get is going to be off these types of tapes, and they could be right. It might be the best place you can get those sorts of deals. The market has rebounded. There's certain markets out there that you can still get great deals in. Matter of fact, because the hedge funds stopped buying those turnkey products, there's a lot of inventory out there right now for turnkey stabilized assets. We have lots of those. But there's a segment of the buying population that also believes that, you know, that the best way to get deals is to buy these distressed assets. Now, what I've found is this avenue here is an awesome one. This Freddie Mac opportunity, we believe, is a great way for you to acquire property. We also believe if you are adept at rehabbing, and I mean that when I say adept, if you're really good at that, and that's what you do, that's your skill set, you get that part of the world, then some of these other off-market private REOs is a great way to go too. Because I mean, I've seen some of these properties that are worth $100,000 rehab that you can pick up for $10,000. But you got to know what you're buying. Don't go in thinking you're buying a rose garden, because you're not. You're buying a house that's been beat up, that's been sitting on a foreclosure list for a number of years, and the banks just are now beginning to release those foreclosures to private funds, which we do have access to those private funds. So to answer your question, we are very fortunate to be able to have this relationship with H. Albert. We're also very fortunate to be able to market for people like Blackstone, who wants to sell off little pieces of their portfolio. So we do have other distressed assets. If you'd like to see those lists, you can just contact myself. What is the closing process? Lori, you want to take that one?
Let's step back to the phone. Is there a way that it's not reverberating back on my ear so loudly?
Did you call in through your computer?
No.
You didn't? Are you on a speakerphone?
No.
Okay. You know what? Let's just mute you out. The closing. I think I know the closing process. The closing process is what it is. It goes through a title company, correct?
Yes.
Do you know what title company they use?
I think Chicago Title is one of them.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the other.
So one of the larger closing houses.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Sam, that's the question. This is a standard close. There's not a double escrow. There's not a. I think I articulated fairly well how the process works. You're going to get a contract. They're going to close within 14 days. Once you sign the contract, you wire in your 10% earnest money. That money goes hard immediately. They look to close within 14 days of that. So that's the closing process. It's just standard title. It's a standard transfer of title. There'll be title work done to the property. I'm not sure what else to add. Let me go to another question. Okay, what percentage do you see of offers being accepted? That's a great question too. I think I addressed that, but I guess I'll do that again. It depends on the market. You know, again, if you're offering in, let's pick another market besides Atlanta and California. Let's say you're offering in Florida. Florida is one of those markets where, you know, there's some pockets there where you can get properties for 70%, maybe even 65%. And there's other markets there and other properties there that you're probably going to have to offer closer to 75. Then there's other markets, for those of you that are in some of the smaller, more rural parts of the country, that you can pick up for, you know, 50, 55, 60, 65 cents in the dollar. Now, but again, you got to remember that it's really not only market but also property dependent. You got to be smart. You know what again, if you know your market, and we know you do, you know that you understand the value of that property. Don't think that Freddie Mac's not going to know that as well. So if you go in there really low, that's where you may strike out. So what percentage depends upon a number of things, not just the area, but it also depends on the property and sometimes the area within the area, if that makes any sense. Okay, what states What states are these properties located in? That's a really good question. We never talked about that. These are national tapes, folks. These are all over the country, and they change every week. This week, for example, there were very few in California, for example. I actually saw a couple in Las Vegas. I believe we're on there this week. It's a fluid tape. These properties are bought and sold each week. But for the most part, these are nationwide tapes. So they're everywhere and anywhere. Okay, someone's asking me here. Okay, do we still have distressed properties in Jackson, Mississippi? I'd have to look. I'm sure we do. I'll have to make a note of that. Yvette, I will take a look at that. Jackson, Mississippi. I will take a look and see what we've got down there. Somebody asked me again to define the timeline process. Okay, without going back through my PowerPoint, I'll just do it from memory. The list will come out Thursday mornings. If you're on our VIP list, email Matt. That's at matt.castro91@gmail.com. Get on our VIP list. You'll get the list the first thing Thursday morning. The first step is to make your offers. We'd like to get those in by Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern or 7 a.m. Pacific. Within 48 hours, you're going to receive back word on your offer. Rejected, accepted, countered. Whatever the status of that is, we move on to to an acceptance. So whether, let's say, for example, they counter it and you accept, you then get your letter back saying that this offer has been accepted. You will then get access to the property. You've got 5 to 7 days from that point before you get a contract. The contract is going to state 10 days due diligence as well, so you're really getting about 15 days due diligence. And again, I want to point out, really important, that's why you should not be intimidated to make an offer as quickly as you are. You're making those offers that quickly in order to secure the property for yourself. That's why we're doing that. That's how all the successful buyers do it. They get the tape Thursday morning, they make their offers, and they hope to get, better than 50% of them. So you've made your offer. You're waiting for the contract. You get the contract back within 5 to 7 days. Now you sign the contract. You've got 48 hours to escrow your earnest money deposit. It's 10% of the purchase price. It's hard immediately. There's no period where that money isn't hard. Once you escrow your money, you're buying the property. Now you still got 10 days due diligence from that point on, and then it works into a close. Be about 14-day period to close from that point. I think I got all off the top of my head, didn't I? Okay, that is the last question I have in the box here, unless somebody has something else and would like to ask another question. Okay, I'm going to wait another minute here, see if anybody else gets on. I'm just checking to make sure we don't have any more questions. It doesn't look like we do. So I am going to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you've got questions, we left our numbers up here for a little while. You can call myself or Lori. And remember, Lori will be the one that will be processing this paperwork. So please do jot down her number, because if you submit an offer, you'll almost certainly be hearing from Lori. And somebody just asked another question. We got 2 more questions, Lori. Okay, Lori, I'm going to let you take a couple of these, okay? Okay, what is done if during your due diligence you find the property isn't what you wanted, or needs more and they won't adjust the price? So if they start doing their due diligence, Lori, the offer's been accepted, the buyer gets out to the property, he realizes there's a challenge with the property. How's that handled?
I believe at that point, what we would, I'm sorry, it's still reverberating intensely back in my ear. Can you guys hear this? This is crazy.
No, actually, we hear you loud and clear. You're getting feedback somehow, but I can hear you fine.
Okay, if they get out to the property and the award letter's been issued, between the point in time that the award letter is issued, that's the process that the contract is being completed. If during that period of time, before the contract is issued, then we'll get a hold of Freddie Mac and say, we want to withdraw that offer, or words to that effect.
Okay. And then
were they asking once the contract was issued and sent?
Well, I think what the question is there's a due diligence period of 10 days on the contract, right? But
Correct.
we're saying, I see what the question is. There's actually multiple questions here that are asking the same thing. So I think the question is something like this. They get the contract, let's say 7-8 days after the award letter. They get the contract, and they're asked to put their money into escrow. So they put earnest money into escrow on day 7 or 8, whatever it is, contract signed. But then they discover there's some issue with the property. How is that earnest money refunded?
I will ask H. Albert about the process about how it's refunded.
Okay. So
but that's the purpose of them having the opportunity to do due diligence. Due diligence.
Right. A lot of D's in that. Okay, I see who's asked the question, so what I'll do is, Lori, why don't you find out a specific answer to that?
I will.
They're in the due diligence period. They've got their earnest money up. They find out there's a hole in the roof and the crack in the foundation. They want to withdraw their offer. What's the process, and how do they get their money returned?
I'll take care of it.
Okay. All right. I know who asked the question, so I will get you that answer back. Next question is, can you buy properties in an LLC? Yes, very, very common to buy properties in a corporate name. So we just need to have your corporate structure. Lori, was there any specific instructions for that, buying in a corporate entity of some sort?
No, but on the offer submission form, it will ask on there who the buyer is. So put in there how they want to take title.
Okay. So it can say Acme LLC Incorporated of Delaware type thing.
Right, the name of the company, and then right under that it will ask for the contact person's information.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I want to thank everyone for being on today and for two really good webinars today. I want to appreciate everybody's time for getting on. We look forward to this process. We think this is going to be a great opportunity for all of you guys to be able to buy some properties at some very nicely discounted prices. So if you have more questions, again, we'll keep our lines open. We'd love to talk to you. If you get my voicemail, know that I will call you back. And everybody have a blessed day. And we look forward to talking to you real soon. I'm going to hang here for about a minute just in the event that somebody pops in another question. But if not, I want to just wish everybody a great day, and we'll look forward to talking to you guys all real soon.
Do you know everything you did over there? Don't ask me how, Alex. Totally fed into this line. Even that. And then it's picking up stuff from, yeah.
Okay, Mal, I'm gonna bug off. Okay, that was good.